welcome. It's wonderful to meet with you again. We've had a 2 months break from this series of reflections, deep, serious reflections on our lives, so that we can go forward with more confidence, more joy, and more value with what we choose to do with our life. So here we are. Some of us have been traveling together on these reflections, monthly reflections, for a few years now. And there are always some who join us by accident or because they were invited by a friend. They join us for the first time. And so we have to start by welcoming you especially and just making sure that you realize the purpose for which we are doing this and the method we're using. Because most of us are used to opening our computers or turning on a program where somebody's speaking to get information. And we're not here to get information. We're here to sit back and let ourselves learn how to be inwardly still so that we can hear what is really going on in our lives. This magnificent gift that we have of life, however painful the external circumstances may be at the moment or times during the life's journey. It's this gift. And so it's not so much what you're going to hear, but what sound it makes within you, what it wakes up within you, and what during the next month you do with that information you get from within yourself. This realization, the insight about my own life. And so the point of these monthly reflections together is just to help us do that. If the world around us, our lifestyles, are so hectic mostly, so full of questions without answers, that we need to be reminded that we have to stop and listen to the reality within us. Listen to the life, the power, the spirit, God by any name, that is within myself. And so we do this by taking a theme, which we then can go on listening to during the month and hearing what we're saying about it, and then perhaps sharing it with somebody else to get a different reaction, a different insight to our own. Reflecting on themes like this in this way helps us to grow to full maturity as human beings, a full understanding of who I really am, of what I really am, and a unique, totally unique member of the human species, each one of millions of us. Now, so you didn't open your computer this morning or whatever, you were doing some watching with somebody else's camera. You didn't open it for information, but to be reminded that the world is within you and it's yours and it's uniquely yours. And it to take a whole month just using today's themes. Now, the year, this year that we're in, we've had some themes already. You know, in September, when we began, the theme was held in the word depression. Surprise. The second month, October, was held in the word protest. And don't we know enough about protest movements? The third month, November, was something that the Chinese president, the president of China, reminded us of when he said to his American counterpart, fairly recently in a political encounter. Mr. Biden, we're living in a global village. Well, and here we are today with today's theme, which we'll look at the end. We're doing something slightly different today. I want to base the themes that we have now on some quotations of various and different types of human beings who've given warnings to humanity. I'm going to read them all the way through to start with. Some of you will recognize them. They're not new sayings. They've been around for 30, 40 years or more. And I've used them before to start our conversations and our reflections, but not all of them together like this. But they are magnificent reminders. And that's why I'm going to read them all the way through first. The first one, I too am afraid, like every other human being, of a future too radically new, too challenged by mystery, to which time is driving us. That came from the writings of Teilhard de Chardin. The human race faces an increasingly dangerous future. Our long-term survival is only possible if we spread out into space and under other stars. This could not happen for another 100 years. Some years ago, from the scientist Stephen Hawking. What is the point of talking about the Big Bang when this world is in flames, when we are incredibly cruel to each other? We're a species using its talents to probe into the stellar origins, the stars we were born at, in the remote past, while its very continuity in the present and in the future is in doubt. Oh, that's clear. We're using our energy and our talents to probe into the past, where our energy needs to be spent now in making sure that we can continue into the future. Krishnamurti gave that strong advice. And then a clearer one. In the future, we will either be mystics or we will not be. And then this final one from Vernor Vigny. Within 30 years, we will have had the technological means to create superhuman intelligence. Superhuman intelligence. And shortly after that, the human era will have ended. Now, actually, he wrote that in 1993. So next year, his 30 years are up. And he was saying within 30 years, we would have created superhuman intelligence. And then humanity will, this human era will have ended. I wonder if it's going to happen within the year. But there you are, those are the quotations. We're going to base this next 2 or 3 reflection series on. Strong words from scientists, philosophers, great thinkers, great writers from both arts and science. Now let's take just one of them today. Let's take the first one. Let me take it, quote the actual things to you again. This is Teilhard de Chardin. I too am afraid. That's the first question. Am I? Like every human being, the whole world is frightened. What? Of what? Of a war? No. Of a future. We'll always have a future. Why should we be terrified of this coming future? Because it's true, radically new. Right from its roots, it's all new to us. It's going to present us with new challenges all the time. And the main challenge is what? Mystery. The future, time drives us to the future. The future is the challenge because it is mystery. And you say, now, come on, we've always had that. We've never known what the future was until it happened and became the present. But is that really what he's saying? See, time drives us to the future. Well, does it? How much of your life have you lived since you turned the computer on or sat down to watch this and listen to it? That part of your life, my life, none of us will ever live again. It's come, it's gone. We can't stop and say, okay, I'll live that bit again, do it differently. We know that's daydream. It simply is not possible. Second by second, by millisecond, the future becomes the present. And we cannot stop it. And much of our romantic literature has tried to make us imagine what it would be like if we had the power to reverse the progress of time and go back in the past and relive it, or go ahead in the future and change it before it's happened. You know, it's all nonsense. Creative imagination, but not reality. Reality is the time, because that's how we measure life's progress. Time we cannot control. It goes on and on. And so when we look at the fact that we are afraid of the future, it's because we cannot stop the future coming, nor alter the pace at which it overtakes us. And now we recognize how full of challenge the future, as we imagine it, as we will have to live it, actually is. Challenge at the moment. Challenge in many, many ways. Teilhard de Chardin, when he made that explosion of his feelings that we've used as a quotation, expressing that he is afraid, and he recognizes that every single human being is afraid because the future is too radically new. We could always look back and say, well, we've lived that before. But now most of the things we're facing, we have not lived before. Why not? What really has changed? Well, the answer is given with the other quotations that we are looking at. The times are radically new, and we are driven into the future towards the newness erratically. We cannot change the speed. We do not control the future. Not in reality. Writers and poets and artists, yes, they try and tell us that we have a control, that we can change, we can make the future, we can make the present. We can live the present. Now have a look. We'll not look at the other quotations, let's just stay with this one. It would be enough to go the next month and just honestly look, sit back, get the quiet within you, and listen to what those words make arise inside you. Fear of this radically new and unknown future. A future to which we are driven by time, over which we have no control. And that in itself is frightening. If we feel we have no control, no capacity to change, to avoid, to stop, or develop, but simply to accept and live, we get very afraid. Unless, of course, we've found that there is something we call a God by any manner of means, something which can rescue us from situations we don't want to be in, like war. When the quote I've just given you, just read to you a few months ago, said that the greatest challenge of what is uncontrollable was the fact we were challenged, we will be challenged, we are challenged by mystery. 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 That which is unknowable by the mind. Now, this is another point. Let's have a look at that. Something that we can never understand by our mind, by the power of the mind. That is mystery. Now, this is really a very important point at which to stop and say, how much am I reliant, totally reliant, on the idea that my mind can understand everything? If not my mind, then somebody who's better trained or intellectually equipped than I. But that everything in this lifespan, the journey that we are making as human beings through time, everything can be understood and therefore controlled by a human mind. But mystery can't. That's what the word mystery means. And so, what Chardin was saying, we're challenged by going into a mystery which we have no way at all of understanding, and certainly not of controlling, by our minds. And we are reliant on our minds, challenged by a mystery that we can never understand, but accept that it is. Now, for some of us, the word mystery has got strong religious traditional influences. You could spend a month or more just looking at what this means to you. What does mystery mean to me? You can brush it aside and say there isn't such a thing as a mystery. The human mind can understand everything. And look, I went on to quote one of the great minds here that said, superhuman intelligence. That is what we are developing. Superhuman intelligence, where we can know everything, we will be able to know everything. Technology will help us. And what will be the result? We will have developed technical means to create superhuman intelligence. And shortly afterwards, the human era, human beings will have ended. Superhuman intelligence. Well, much of the work that all of us are doing in our lives is concerned with developing our human ability, our human intellectual ability. Do we want to know everything? But we're told that if there's no mystery, then there's no humanity as we know it now. And that's what the last speaker said. After we have created superhuman intelligence so that the mind can know everything that needs to be known. There is no mystery left, no life, no power of life beyond what our mind can understand and control. And there is no human species. You could be bouncing up and down in your chair and saying, oh, this is nonsense, or this is a waste of time. I'm not going to give myself, indulge myself in speculating on this. If you feel like this, it would be understandable, but not very useful. Remember, the whole purpose of this series is not to leave you knowing things that you can then quote to other people and say, this is what I know. The whole point of this series of reflections is to do just that. Sit back from your knowledge, not from your experience necessarily, but from your knowledge, the use of your mind, and listen. Listen to the reality within you, to the mystery that each one of us is. And then see what you hear. Yes, that seems to be a contradiction, but it is. But then listen and hear, and perhaps be surprised at what the silence, the life within you tells you. Then give more time to listen again, and then try and express what you've heard to somebody else. And then listen to what they have heard with inside them. Then we begin to move into this radically challenging future. I hope you're going to have a wonderful month. I think we will. You know, those of us who have got access to help with friends, with different groups, with organizations, those of you who particularly are part of the satsang, don't keep any of this to yourself. Share, invite other people to do some reflection and share with you. We learn from them, they learn from you. Please don't just sit on this. If this is not what you want, then you can switch off the computer and forget it. But if something begins to move inside you and says, don't be so stupid, here you're meeting reality, truth, and don't throw it away. And so they are. I look forward to meeting you again in next month. I forgot to say at the beginning, because I quoted the months of September, October, November, December and January, we decided not to have these reflections, simply because the festival season, it was not only the Christians celebrating Christmas, we had the Chinese New Year and various other things. Nearly at that time, we had Diwali and so on. Partly because there's a lot of social activity and upheaval, and we didn't want to try and put this in, and it got forgotten or was misused. And so if you're following this year, you've had 4 months now, September, October, November, and February. There will be 1, March, April, and so on. Please share, please enjoy it. I look forward to hearing what other people have heard, whom I know, who will be doing that, listening to what they have heard within the depths of themselves. And we're going to have a great deal to share. It's surprising how marvelously we are made. And then we look again at our human intelligence and say, is that all there is? Well, we look forward to you again. Great thanks to those who have made this possible. Again, it's Walter Pippig who is doing the recording and who will get it sent, at least the first stages, on its way out to you. Please send it on from there. Share it, give it to others. And we look forward to meeting you next month and see where we are then.